Hello and welcome to this video series on Ascension symptoms with Dr. G. Love of Five Directions Wellness, www.fivedirectionswellness.com. I am a Shamana Reiki Master, natural medicine doctor, a naturopath, and a community healer. This video series is about Ascension symptoms. Ascension symptoms being, what are the symptoms that are a result of living in a time of great shift? The world is changing, the earth is changing, the axis of the earth has shifted, the frequency of the collective consciousness and collective unconscious or subconscious has shifted. There are many more people incarnate on the planet right now who are vibrating at a frequency that is a bit more multidimensional. A lot of times we're referred to as indigo children or crystal children or rainbow children. Either way, a lot of us are adults now, coming of age. And, what do we do with these symptoms? A lot of times these symptoms are very similar to the symptoms of trauma. They're very similar to a lot of the symptoms that we see diagnosed by psych professionals. And they certainly are intersectional. I'm not going to say whether they are mutually exclusive. I believe it's best to stay with the intersectionality, since we're discussing about the intersectionality of dimensions, parallel and concurrent lives, and our ability to be aware of each other's transmissions in the collective subconscious, that our waking and sleeping dreams are co-creating and communicating together. So for the sake of this conversation, we're going to keep it all intersectional and expansive. So please share any and all relevant comments in the area below this video so we can have an expansive conversation as a community. My focus today is the trauma intersectionality. It being a war zone out here, most of us are suffering with some form of post-trauma effect on our nervous systems. Our central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, particularly our parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, as well as our vagus nerve. This is where the survival mechanisms of fight, flight, or freeze come in. Most of us have had an experience of being harmed, assaulted, traumatized, perhaps being the person who did the harm or did the assaulting or caused harm to other people. That also is very traumatic and usually comes from having a traumatic history. This rape culture is traumatizing everyone, and it's inundating us in so many ways that have so many of us ready to either fight, run away, or just go blank and freeze. There's been a lot of research on the effects of trauma on the brain. The new technology has allowed for MRIs to be done on the brain and on the nervous system, and to really study the limbic system, which is ever confusing, but we continue to learn more about the limbic system, which is the part of the brain that experiences emotions, and to really see that people's trauma experiences, especially in early childhood and in developmental stages, from a very difficult divorce that may have happened to the parents at an important age for the child, when the child perhaps blamed themselves, to incest, to child abuse, to verbal abuse, emotional abuse. All of these traumas add up, and research is showing that they do create a series of illnesses, including physical illnesses. We see that people who had a lot of early childhood trauma are more likely to have heart disease, arthritis, digestive issues, depression. So again, the intersectionality of trauma, the limbic system, the nervous system, the physical body systems, the organ systems, the meridian systems. Earlier videos we talked about how the meridians are off because the energies of the whole planet are actually shifting. So our way in which our electricity moves through our body is shifting. That's our meridian and our nervous systems. Electricity runs these machines. So This video is saying, like, how can we begin to get a new way of looking at ourselves and each other if we are experiencing ascension symptoms and they happen to be intersecting with our trauma symptoms. Some of us have therapists, some of us are medicated, some of us are using holistic remedies, some of us are using energy medicine, some of us are using a combination of all of the above and then some. And it's like, okay, adding to that a deeper understanding of where this comes from. Because in the last video I talked about really needing to look at any self-shame or blame that may lead to rage. And that's where trauma comes in. Because if we have experienced injustice in the past or in the present, we experience so much injustice. Certainly our social justice is disturbed at best globally. We're still, operating with very complicated borders around race and gender and culture and religion that are constantly oppressing and further triggering these nervous systems into fight, flight, or freeze. And then we're evolving. Our souls are evolving. So I'm asking you to see if you can begin to ask your dream time, your waking time, to include your soul in your social justice work, to include your soul in your psychology work, in your emotional healing work, to include your soul in your physical healing work. Yes, some of this physical pain or some of the physical ailments that you may be experiencing, your soul are connected to. Work with people who know how to include the soul. Persons like myself, other healers who are natural medicine doctors who work with energy work like Reiki, shamanism, indigenous technologies. Get divination. I practice a number of forms of divination, including a form of divination from northern Ghana, indigenous technology divination, that really looks at the multidimensionality and the intersectionality of self. Surprise, surprise, the indigenous people have carried a very ancient medicine that's always taken our intersectional realities into account, because it's not as simple as the power of positive thinking. It's not as simple as exercising and eating right. It's not as simple as praying and meditating. It's complicated. The human incarnate is a very complicated being. So again, on this topic of ascension symptoms, in complete solidarity and love, this is Dr. G. Love of www.5directionswellness.com. That's F-I-V-E, directionswellness.com. One love. Ashe, Amen, Aho, Namaste, Hotep.